Hello friends, good morning. My name is Parth Haidani and I'm representing iNogic in the capacity of ISV team lead. Today I'll be talking about iNogic's 4 new productivity app, that is lead assignment distribution and automation, SharePoint security sync, map my relationships and Kanban board. So a small piece of information, during the webinar, all of the lines will be muted. So if anybody has any question, kindly put it in the question window and I'll be happy to answer those at the end of the session. Before I dive deeper into the session, let me give you a brief about iNogic and its history. iNogic is one of the leading service provider and an ISV. It is an exclusive Dynamics 365 boutique shop and which has been into the business for more than a decade now. We are active in the community and our blogs are really popular in the CRM community. Our main focus and aim is to develop productivity apps or what we would like to call as one-click solution. On the screen right now, you can see iNogic's all of the productivity apps offering. So the below 4 apps, that is Kanban Board, SharePoint Security Sync, Map My Relationships, Lead Automation and Distribution. We will be seeing about them later on in the session. But the one that I would like to highlight over here is Maplytics. Maplytics is our flagship product. It is a CFMD certified solution. It enables users to plot any of their CRM data on the map, thereby creating the routes, auto-scheduling the routes, doing the territory management and much more. Apart from product development, iNogic is also an SI and it assists partners and customers with their offshore services. If anybody is interested in knowing anything about this, kindly send an email at crm@inogic.com. So this is the agenda for the session. We will be I'll be talking about each of the product briefly and it will be followed by a live demonstration. The sequence of the product demonstration is I'll be first talking about lead assignment, distribution and automation, followed by SharePoint security sync, then map my relationships, and at the end I'll take Kanban board and thereafter I'll be open up for question and answers. So this is the first look of our 4 new productivity apps. Lead assignment, distribution and automation. It enables you to intelligently and smartly allocate leads or any records to the right person. SharePoint Security Sync synchronizes your CRM and SharePoint security model. Map My Relationships helps you visualize any of your CRM related record in a single place. Kanban board organizes the record in the form of a card base divided into multiple lanes. Let's begin with lead assignment, distribution, and automation. Consider an example. For any organization, it is really important to manage, distribute, and allocate leads happily. Now, if the organization receives a huge number of leads on a daily basis, it really gets difficult for a single person to manage those leads and allocate them properly. In that case, a lead assignment, distribution and automation can come handy. Here you can define rules, and based on the rules, the automatic assignment and the distribution of leads will take place. Let's look at the features that lead assignment, distribution and automation has to offer. Currently, it supports 2 algorithms. One is round robin algorithm, in which the records are assigned in a sequential and circular pattern. Second one is user capacity. Again, the records here are assigned in sequential and circular pattern, but the capacity of the user is also taken into consideration. Thereafter, we also provide the provision to define the selection criteria. So say for an example, any lead that is getting created in CRM, if it satisfies the criteria, that's when the automatic assignment will take place, or else the lead won't be assigned automatically. Entity support. It not only supports lead entity, but any of your system or out of the box entity, system and custom entities are supported. Dashboards. So the data that is accumulated by lead assignment, distribution and automation is in a report friendly manner. which means that you can do the Power BI visualization on the data, or else you can create your charts and dashboards. Let me explain you the algorithms used by lead assignment, distribution, and automation briefly. On the left hand side, you will see the round robin algorithm, and on the right hand side, you will see the capacity algorithm. So say you have just started using CRM, and you have set up the round robin algorithm for one of the assignment rule, and within that you have three different salesperson: Sam, John, and Mary. The first lead that will be created will be assigned to Sam. Second one will be assigned to John. Third one will be assigned to Mary. Fourth will be assigned to Sam, and this process will go on and on. Now, let's look at the capacity algorithm. So the capacity algorithm also follows the sequential and the circular pattern, but the only thing that differs here is the capacity. So the capacity of the user as well as the capacity that is needed to serve the record is also taken into consideration. Now say in this example, Missy has already exhausted her capacity. So any new lead that is getting created in CRM will be assigned to Jacob and Lena till the time they don't exhaust their capacity. Let's look lead assignment distribution and automation in action. Consider a scenario. There is a company who captures their lead from the website. They categorize their lead into different category like hot leads, warm leads, and cold leads. So I have already created rules based on different category, and the records would be assigned to the correct salesperson. Now for the demonstration purpose, I have pre-populated the lead with the required information. And now this is the hot lead, and it is getting created under the context of service iNogic user. Let me save this. Let's quickly go back to the rule. I'll explain you the rule briefly. But for this timing, we can see that there are four users as a part of this particular rule. And the first three users, that is Jim, iNogic, Kim, and Molly, have four active records assigned to each. Which means that the new record that will be getting created should be assigned to Sam iNogic because she already has three records. Now, if I go back to the lead which I created, and if I refresh, the lead has been allocated to Sam iNogic. And if I again go back here and refresh, now I can see each one of them have four active leads assigned to them. So let's see what it takes for you to configure lead assignment distribution and automation. For that, you need to go to the lead assignment distribution app that comes along once you install the solution. Then you need to enable the entities which needs to leverage lead assignment distribution and automation capabilities. In my case, I have already enabled two entities. One is lead and the other one is case. Like I said before, it not only supports the lead entity, but any of your custom or out of the box entities are also supported. Let me open up lead first. Here you need to define the basic information. Once you do that, you need to create rules for the entity. So here you can see I have created multiple rules, one for cold leads, one for hot leads, and one for warm leads. Let me open up the rule for hot leads. Here, after you define the basic configuration, you need to define or select the selection execution criteria. For the execution criteria, we support two criteria mode. One is simple and the other one is advanced. If you select simple mode, you will be able to select any of the system views of that particular entity, which in my case is lead. So here you will be able to see all of the views. Or else if you select advanced, you will be having the provision to give a custom fetch XML. Now thereafter you need to define the execution order. Execution order is basically the sequence in which the rules will be executed, and any rule that is getting satisfied, the rest of the rules will be ignored. After that you need to define or select the queue, and this is the most important aspect of the assignment rule. Let's see what's there in the queue. In the queue, you define which all members would be part of that particular assignment rule. Like here, we can see there are four members: G-Minogic, K-Minogic, Mori-Inogic, and Sam-Inogic. And these were the four members we saw initially at the time of the assignment of the record. Let me go back. Once you define queue, then you need to choose the type of algorithm that you would like to use for this particular rule. Currently, we support round robin and capacity. And here I have selected round robin as the algorithm. Thereafter, you need to choose which all statuses would you like to keep as the open work item statuses. Now, this field and this field goes hand in hand. Here I have defined the maximum work items that can be allowed or assigned to a user as 10. Let's see what it means. Let me open up the example quickly. So here in this example, say Sam already has 10 open records assigned to her. And then John has 9 and Mary has 9. In this case, the new lead that is getting created will be assigned to John and thereafter to Mary. Till the time then, once each one of them have 10 leads assigned to them, any new lead getting created will be left assigned till the time any one of them closes the lead that is assigned to them. So this is where you define the open statuses. So if you want, you can add more open statuses here in order for us to understand what all statuses will be considered as open. Now, let's look at the capacity algorithm example. For that, I'll again go back to the assignment configuration. Here I'll open up the case entity. I have already configured one rule against this case entity. The majority of the piece in the capacity algorithm remains the same. The only difference that you will notice over here is this unit effort required for work item. So basically, any record of a case entity that will be created in a system, it will require 5 unit of capacity to be served. So similarly, the users that are part of this assignment rule should have minimum 5 unit of capacity available in order to serve any new record that is getting created in the system. So this is how you can configure and make use of lead assignment distribution and automation to automatically and smartly assign any record that is getting created in the system without the hassle for you to decide who is the right person to be assigned to the record. Let me quickly switch back to the presentation. Now let's talk about the other productivity app, that is SharePoint Security Sync. SharePoint Security Sync is, say for an example, in your system, there is an organization who is really particular about the records that can be viewed or accessed by the users. So they have already used security rules in SharePoint, in CRM rather, to restrict the access to the records. Now, if the same user logs into the SharePoint, he can get access to any of the folders that are part of the records that is not accessible by him in CRM. Now, they want to restrict the access to the SharePoint folders as well. But out of the box, we don't have any provision of achieving this. This is where SharePoint Security Sync comes into the picture. It synchronizes your CRM and security model, thereby restricting the access to the folders in SharePoint, just like what the access has been restricted in CRM. Let's look at the features that SharePoint Security Sync has to offer. So it supports real-time synchronization, which means that anytime a user is assigned a security role or removed the security role, or else a team is assigned a security role or removed the security role, this changes the privileges of a particular user in the CRM, and this particular changes are replicated in SharePoint as well. So apart from this, we also support share whenever a record is shared with another user, or if a record is assigned to another user. This also changes the security privileges, and this is replicated in SharePoint. Apart from this, I'm 100% sure that the organization would be having a lot of history data that requires the synchronization of the security role. So we provide a tool in order to synchronize your history data. Apart from handling the security aspect of CRM and SharePoint integration, we also handle the document management aspect as well. So we provide an UI using which you can simplify the task of uploading files and folders to the SharePoint from CRM. So you can simply drag and drop the files or folders onto the UI and everything will be uploaded to SharePoint. You can quickly search for files or folders from the CRM that are there in the SharePoint. You can attach the file as an attachment in an email, or you can add the anonymous link of the file in an email. You can move or copy your notes attachments, email attachments, sales literature attachments to SharePoint, thereby reducing your CRM storage. You can create folder, you can delete files, you can do lot many functionalities using the UI that is provided along with SharePoint securities. Let's look at these features in action. For that, I'll quickly switch back to the CRM. I'll open up the accounts. I'll open up A and B sons. So here you need to use attach to dynamics button at the top to access the UI. So if A and B sons or the record that we are trying to open up the UI on has already SharePoint folder created, it will be used. If it doesn't have a SharePoint folder, a new would be created and you can start using. Now, using the button that is available here to upload file and folder, you can use the old school method of uploading the file. Let's see. So once you select the file, it shows the UI, the progress bar of what is getting uploaded. If you want, you can simply drag and drop the folder onto the UI, and folder along with all its subfolders and files will be uploaded to Share. Now again, we can see the upload progress. Once the upload has been finished, you will be getting a summary details of how many files have been uploaded successfully, how many of them were ignored. So now here we can see that design.app file has been ignored. The reason being .app extension is blocked. We will see later in the session how to provide the blocked extension. For the time being, I'll close this. Once you close, the UI is refreshed and you will be able to see the folder that you have just uploaded. And now you can see the files and the subfolders are also there. Thereafter, you can simply select the file, you can download the file. After selecting the file, you can download it. You can rename the file or you can rename the folder. You can send the file as an attachment in an email or as the anonymous link in an email. Or else if you just want the anonymous link of that file, there are two options available. Either you can create a read-only anonymous link or an editable anonymous link. You can create the folder from this button. After that, if you want, you can quickly search for a file or a folder using this search box available here. If you have multiple folders for this record in SharePoint, you can quickly switch between those folders using this drop. So this is how you can make use of the UI to do the document management aspect of SharePoint securities. Now, let me quickly upload a file. Let me quickly add a file to the node. And let's see what happens to it. I'll attach a file here. So once you do that, the file will be migrated to SharePoint within 10 to 15 seconds of the node creation. Let's see if it took place or not. Now we can see the file has been migrated and the path of that file in SharePoint has been left in the node body. Now let's go to related and look at the document tab where the out of the box upload and download of file takes place. So here we can see the files that were uploaded from the UI as well as from the node is shown over here. Also the folder is available over here. Now if I go to the SharePoint, I can see the files as well as the folder that was uploaded from the UI. So now, uh, let's take another scenario. Let's look at the security aspect of SharePoint security. I am logged into another browser using a different user named John Inogic, who is a junior salesperson, and he has access to only the customers created by himself. Now, if I refresh this, I don't see any customers here, which means that even in SharePoint, this particular user shouldn't be able to see any folders. Let's see if that's the case or not. So here I don't see any of the customer folder. The reason being the SharePoint security sync has synchronized the security mode. Now let's take it a step forward. Let me share the current record with John Inoje. Let's do that. I'll share this. I'll give him read, write, delete. Let's share. So once you share a record using this share functionality, the record should be visible to the user in CRM as well as in SharePoint. Let's see if that's the case or not. So we can see the folder is accessible by the John Inogic user because the SharePoint security synchronized the sharing action that was done by the manager. Let's see what it takes for you to configure the SharePoint security sync. In order to do that, you need to go to the SharePoint security sync application. Then you need to create a connector. Connector is where you define the SharePoint site, then the credentials under which this particular actions will be performed. Then in additional settings, you define the maximum file size that is available to be uploaded from the UI. Then the block file extension. So here you can see that APP file has been added to the block file extension, and hence at the time of uploading the file from the UI, it was blocked. Then you define the entity configuration. Basically, it is the list of all of the entities that can leverage SharePoint security sync functionality. Thereafter, you do this basic configuration. You also have the provision to define the security templates. The security templates is basically a place where you define which users can access what actions of the UI. Also, if you have a lot of history note attachments, email attachments, sales literature attachments, you can simply make use of the bulk migration job to migrate all of them to the SharePoint, thereby reducing your CRM storage space. So this is how you can make use of SharePoint Security Sync as a one-stop solution for any of your security or document management aspect when it comes to CRM and SharePoint integration. Now, let's move on to the next productivity app, Map My Relationship. Consider a scenario. I am a salesperson. I would like to visualize all of the key information related to my customer in the single view or at the single place. Out of the box, I don't have any option to do so. So this is where Map My Relationships comes into the picture. Map My Relationship is a productivity control that provides you an easy way to visualize all of the related information to a record in a single place, much like Mind Map view for D365 record. With a single glance, the user can obtain key information related to the information of the records without the need for the user to navigate at various places to gather those information. Now let's look at the features that Map My Relationships has to offer. It gives you a 360-degree view of all the related data. Like I said, you can visualize all of the important information related to a record at the same place. You can easily navigate to the related record from the UI. You can get the quick summary of the records that you have added onto the control. You can perform quick actions like create of an email, phone call, or any of your custom or out-of-the-box activity entities. You can do the grouping and aggregation of the record and its details. I'll explain this to you in detail while showing the UI. And it is really easy to do the configuration because this is a PCF control. Now let's look at these features in action. Like I said before, it's a PCF control. It can be used by any of the out of the box or custom entities. So here I have already configured this PCF control, that is map my relationship for account, and I have added a tab named map my relationship. Now if I open that up, I'll be able to visualize all of the related information, important information that I have configured related to the record in the single place. So here at the center is my current record, that is adventure. Then related to that, I see the various information like the primary contact, opportunities, cases, phone calls, email messages, connection. I see this information because I have configured this relationship to be shown related to my particular account. Now, if I hover over Nancy Anderson, I get the summary, quick summary, like the email business phone, because this is something that I have configured related to the primary contact relationship. Now, if I right click, I'll be able to perform quick action like create of an email, phone call, appointment and task, because these are the activities that I have enabled related to the primary contact. Now, say for an example, I would like to drill down and look at the opportunities that are related to this particular account. In order to do that, I need to double click. Once I do that, it will open up new branches. But here it shows 6 opportunities, but only 3 branches are created. Because I have done the grouping based on the status, and hence you see 3 different branches for 3 different opportunity statuses. If I hover over any of the branch, I get the information of the actual revenue because I have done the aggregation based on the actual revenue attribute of opportunity. Similarly, if I hover over here, I'll see the actual revenue for all the lost opportunity. So it shows the sum of the actual revenue. Now, if I want, I can furthermore drill down and look at the actual opportunities that are part of this particular status. So I double click. I can see all of the opportunity records expanded into different branches. Similarly here, if I hover, I get the quick summary. If I right click, I can perform quick actions. Now let's see what it takes for you to configure Map My Relationships control. Since I said before, this is a PCF control, you need to go to the customization to configure this. I'll open up the account form where I have already configured this particular PCF control. Once you do that, you need to bind the PCF control to one of the field. I've already done that. You'll see this map my relationship control over here. Once you enable it for all of the form factors, that is web, phone and tablet, then you can provide the properties based on which the map my relationship control would be rendered. So here all you need to provide is a list of one-to-many relationships that you would like to visualize. So for an example, here I've given all of the one-to-many relationships separated by comma. Thereafter, you can provide the many-to-one relationship names separated by comma. Similarly, you can do the needful for many-to-many relationships as well. Once you do that, you also have the provision to define to whether to allow the actions or not. If you don't select anything, the actions are allowed by default. So this is how you do the basic configuration of the control, and you are all set to visualize the important information at one place. But if you think that the basic information doesn't suffice your requirement and you need something advanced, then in that case, you can define the map my relationship control configuration and provide the name of the record here. Like in my case, I have provided the name as customer map. Let's see what I have done in the customer map record. You need to open up the map my relationship application. Here you need to define the entity configuration. I've already defined an entity configuration named customer map, and hence the name customer map was added over there. Then you select the entity for which this entity configuration is. Then you select based on what the images is shown. So here I have selected record image. That's why I was able to see the record image here. You can see that. Then we have two options more apart from the record image. One is entity image and the other one is image URL. If you select image URL, you need to provide the URL of that image. Once you do this, you need to configure the relationships that you would like to visualize on the control. So here I have already configured multiple relationships, but we will look at the opportunity relationship that I have configured. Here you have three options. Either you can go with one-to-many, many-to-one, many-to-many. Once you select the relationship based on what you have selected, all of the relationships will be populated here. Thereafter, you can select the required relationship. Then again, you have the option to define what image would you like to see or visualize on the control. Then here you select the allowed actions. Actions is like the create of an email, phone call, or any of the activity entities. So here you can see I have enabled email, phone call, and tasks. So if I quickly go over here and if I right click, I can see email, phone call, and tasks. Thereafter, here you can configure the fields to be shown on the tooltip. Now, once you do this, here you in the cluster settings section, you can define the attribute based on which the records will be grouped. So I have selected as stated. If I go back here, you can see the opportunity is grouped by status. So hence three different branches were expanded when I drill down onto the opportunity. Now I have added the measure to be done based on the actual revenue attribute of the opportunity, and I have configured the measure to be done based on the sum of all the records. So if I go here, even though I have two lost opportunity, I still see a single actual revenue because it is the sum of all of the lost opportunities actual revenue. So this is how you can make use of Map My Relationships control to visualize all of the key information related to the record that you are currently accessing, thereby reducing the steps or the navigations that the users would have to do in order to gather those pieces of information. Now, let me explain you the last productivity control for this particular session. So now I said control because this is again a PCF. So consider a scenario. As a salesperson, I would like to visualize all of my records related to an entity divided by statuses. Now, I don't have an option out of the box that will enable to do this. So this is where Kanban Board comes into the picture. Kanban Board is a productivity app that organizes your record in a card-based form, which is furthermore divided into various lanes or columns. You can simply drag and drop the card or record from one column to the other, thereby changing or updating the value of the record. Let's look at the features that Kanban Board has to offer. So you can visualize your view. Like I said, Kanban Board is a PCF control, which means that you can configure it for any of your custom or out-of-the-box entity. And once you enable it for your entity, you can visualize any of your views in the form of Kanban. You can configure the list based on any of the attribute of the entity, and the columns would be created based on that, and the records would be distributed into the column. You can define what attributes that you would like to make the part of the card content that's configurable. You can drag and drop the records from one lane to the other, thereby changing the value of that particular record. You can perform quick actions such as create of an email, phone call, or any of your custom or out-of-the-box activity entity. If you also select the card, you can perform various actions from the ribbon bar as well. You can quickly search for a record. You can filter the records. You can sort the list so that the records are sorted. Now let's look at these features in action. I'll move back to the CRM. So since I said this is a PCF control, I have already configured this PCF control for my cases. So now I am looking at the all cases view. In order to switch the to the PCF control or the read only, you can go into this three dot, show as read only grid. Or else if you want to look at the Kanban, you can simply go there and look at the Kanban. So now I can see all of the cases that are there. Now if I want to look at more details about this case, I can simply click on this arrow and I'll be able to see the remaining content of this case. Or else if I want to expand all of the cards that are part of this particular lane, I can click here and it will expand all of the cards. I can simply click again, it will collapse the card. The color that you see at the top of each lane is derived based on the color that is set for the option set value at the time of the definition of or customization of that option set. Thereafter, all of the attributes that you have defined here will be a part of this drop down, and based on that you can perform the sorting of the records. Also, using the various icons that you see or various buttons that you see over here, you can perform quick tasks. So say if I want to create a task against this particular case, I can simply click here and it will quickly open up this quick create task functionality for me to create a task against this case. Or else I can select this particular card and I can perform various actions from the ribbon at the top. Now say I would like to put this particular case on hold from in progress. All I need to do is simply drag this case from this lane to this lane and the record would be updated and the case is now on hold. If I want, I can make use of this filter on the right hand side to quickly filter for the record which were created today or yesterday, this month, last month. Or else if you already have the case number on you and if you would like to search for a particular case, you can use this search section here. I have the case number. Okay. I have this case number. I'll use this and I'll hit search. So now I can see only this particular case is available. I can quickly hide the empty lanes using this hide empty lane button here, and all the empty lanes are hidden. I'll quickly clear this. Now say for an example, I'm analyzing my charts and I would like to filter the lanes or the cards based on the chart that I'm looking at. So let me quickly switch to the chart. Now, if I click here on the column, on the bar rather, I can see the records in the Kanban board has been filtered. Let me quickly hide the empty lanes. So now I can see there are two cases that make part of this particular piece of the column. So this is how you can make use of the charts to filter the records that are shown on the Kanban board. Now let's look at what it takes for you to configure the Kanban board. Like I said, Kanban board is a PCF control. So in order to configure Kanban board, you need to go to the customization. And since I did it for case entity, I'll quickly scroll down to the case. I'll go to the controls. And here you need to add the Kanban board control over here. Once you do that and once you enable the various form factors like web, phone and tablet, you will be able to provide the criteria or the property here in order for you to start visualizing the views in the form of a Kanban board. So the basic information that you would like to first of all need to provide is the lane filter criteria, which in my case is status code, and hence the various lanes are created based on the status reason of the case. In progress, on hold are the status reason. Then you need to define the header. So here I have defined the header to show the title of the case. Thereafter, you can define the subheader. In my case, in my scenario, I have defined it to be the ticket number, and hence the ticket number is available over here. So on, you can define the body text 1, 2, and 3, which will make up this part of the card. Then you need to specify whether you would like to enable any of the actions on the card, which will be by providing the comma separated name of the activity entities that you would like to enable on the card. So if I click here, I can see I have provided the logical name of 3 activity entities separated by comma. Then the other property that you can define is whenever the Kanban board is loaded, all of the cards should be either in the form of a collapse or expanded. So this can be configured from here. If you don't configure anything, by default, all of the cards will be collapsed. So this is how you can make use of Kanban board to visualize your records in the form of cards divided into different lanes based on the criteria that you have defined. Let me quickly switch back to the presentation. All of the productivity apps and the controls that we just spoke about is supported by version 9.x and above. We also support on-premises and Dynamics 365 Online for the apps and controls. If you would like to play around with the application, it is really simple for you to get started. You can go to www.inogic.com, download the solution from our website and install it to your organization. Once you do that, it will hardly take 10 minutes for you to set it up and configure, and then you will be having 15 days trial period to play around with the application. Before I move on to the question and answer session, I would like to ask you, I would like to give you a poll wherein I would like to know which application did you like the most. So let me quickly launch the poll. You should be able to see the poll. Please cast your vote so that we can understand the product or the control that you like the most. So you have 30 seconds to cast your vote. Thank you all for casting your vote. Now I am available for any of the questions that you may have. Kindly put your questions in the questions window so that I can answer your questions. So I have one question from one of the attendees. The question is related to lead assignment distribution. So the question is how to distribute the existing record. So in that case, we already have a button on all of the home pages of the entities, which once you use, you will be able to distribute all of the existing records. If anybody has any more questions, please put it in the questions window. So I have another question from the other attendee. The question is related to the Kanban board. The question is, can we create lanes based on other fields? So yes, in my example, I showed you the lanes were distributed based on the status reason field, but you can use any of your option set or any of your string or any field that you have in your system in order to create the lanes. I'll be sticking around for a few more minutes just in case if anybody has questions. So thank you all for joining the webinar. Kindly stay tuned with iNogic for more such webinars. Have a great day.